Welcome to our analysis. Today, we are unpacking a framework that literally rewired how the entire world produces, works, and thinks. We're talking about total quality management, or TQM. Now, you hear quality thrown around a lot as this vague corporate buzzword, but we're going to see how TQM is actually a rigorous, historical evolution that can radically improve how any organization performs. Let's dive in.
I want to kick things off with a pretty heavy-hitting idea from Bruno Pianessa. It basically translates to numbers rule the world. What is not measured is not known, what isn't known can't be governed, and what isn't governed cannot be improved. This is the absolute heartbeat of everything we're covering today. We can't just cross our fingers and hope things go well. We have to rigorously measure our processes because ultimately the very survival of a business is at stake here.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to trace the whole maturation arc of this concept. We'll start with the origins of quality, define what it actually means, and then look at the Deming cycle. After that, we'll dive into mapping processes, contrast ISO 9000 with TQM, and wrap up with company organization.
Section 1. The Origins of Quality.
Picture this. It's 1949. Post-WW2 Japan is struggling. Resources are practically non-existent, and Toyota looks at this landscape and realizes, hey, we literally cannot afford to waste anything. They had to invent a completely new manufacturing system just to survive. Notice the stark contrast here between the West and the East. Over in the West, you had Fordism. You had specialized workers, sure, but quality control? That only happened at the very end of the assembly line. Imagine building a whole car and only then checking if it works. Just a massive waste of time and materials. But Toyota? Thanks to an engineer named Taiichi Ohno, they created Toyotism. The big game changer was continuous control. They empowered their highly skilled workers to check quality at every single step, not just dumping it on an inspector at the end.
And they actually pulled this off by chasing something they called absolute quality, built on the 5 zeros principle. We're talking 0 defects in production, 0 machine breakdowns, 0 paper, which basically means stripping out all that bloated corporate bureaucracy, 0 stock, so you're only making exactly what is needed, and 0 wait time. You probably heard of that last one as just-in-time manufacturing. This wasn't just a new set of rules. It was a total cultural rewiring where every single employee was motivated to continuously improve.
All right, Section 2. What actually is quality?
Because over time, the definition of quality has morphed into something way bigger than just, hey, this product isn't broken. Take a look at this list created by Garvin back in 1988. Quality is wildly multidimensional. Yeah, you've got your baseline performance and reliability, but it's also about the features, the durability, how well it conforms to the original design, and serviceability, like how easy is it to repair. It even extends into aesthetics and perceived quality, which is basically the brand's reputation in the customer's mind. Quality is the total experience, the whole shebang. So how on earth do we manage all these dimensions? Genichi Taguchi, one of the godfathers of TQM, gives us this brilliantly simple definition. He says, quality is inversely proportional to variability. Think about that for a second. It means if you reduce the variability in your production, if you do things consistently and precisely every single time, your repairs, your complaints, and your costs, they just naturally drop. Today, hitting that quality sweet spot is really all about optimizing the value-to-cost ratio for your customer.
Moving on to Section 3, the Deming cycle.
Okay, theory is great, but how do managers actually apply this day to day? Well, they use this visual anchor right here, the Deming cycle, also known as the PDCA cycle. This is the fundamental feedback loop utilized by executives globally. It's not just about meeting expectations, it is the absolute engine of continuous quality control that lets you blow past them. It breaks down into 4 really logical steps. First up, plan. Before you do anything, you identify the problem, set your goals, and map your route. Second is do. That's where you actually implement the interventions and train your staff. Third, check. Did it actually work? You have to verify your new outcomes against your standards. And finally, action. If your fix worked, standardize it on a massive scale. If it didn't, no big deal. You just restart the cycle. It is an infinite loop of learning.
Section 4. Mapping business processes.
To take all these high-level philosophies and turn them into a measurable reality, an organization can't just passively bow to bureaucratic norms. You have to actively visualize your workflows. You need to map out exactly how work flows from one person to another to clarify roles and responsibilities. Simply put, if you can't see your process, you absolutely cannot manage it.
We can group this complex concept using the rule of 3. Step 1, mapping. You take an exact high-resolution photograph of how the company currently operates. Step 2, gap analysis. You look at that photo, analyze your strengths and weaknesses, and find the path from where you are to your ultimate goal. And step 3, proof. You create the documentation needed to plan, conduct, and constantly adapt your business model.
Which brings us to Section 5, ISO 9000 and TQM.
Now, this touches on a massive point of tension in the corporate world, the difference between strictly following standard procedures and cultivating a true quality-driven culture. A lot of people confuse ISO 9000 certifications with TQM. Look at this Venn diagram. Yes, there's a strong overlap. Both require a systemic vision of your processes. But ISO 9000 really just establishes the baseline rules and the external assurance. TQM pushes all of that way further, driving a holistic culture of excellence. Let's look at this comparison to make it crystal clear. If you are conforming to ISO 9000, you're modifying your systems. You're writing procedures, prepping for inspections, and guaranteeing a minimum documentable quality. TQM, on the other hand, means modifying your actual company culture. You shift the focus from basic assurance to total customer satisfaction. You move from mere inspection to continuous improvement, and you profoundly empower your people to become group problem solvers. Think of it like this. ISO is the concrete foundation, but TQM is the beautiful house you build on top of it.
Finally, Section 6, Company Organization.
As we wrap up, we have to face a hard truth. No quality model in the world can succeed without the right organizational structure and the right people. Henry Mintzberg pointed out that an organization has these fundamental parts that must talk to each other perfectly. You've got the operating core, the workers actually on the ground producing the product. You have the strategic apex, that's top management defining the vision, and the technostructure, the analysts and IT folks designing the processes. If these three souls aren't perfectly coordinated, your entire quality system just collapses like a house of cards.
Quality isn't some static finish line. It is a continuous journey from basic, bureaucratic compliance all the way toward total excellence. So I want to leave you with a final provocation to chew on. What is the best management model for your own organization? Are you stuck just checking boxes and doing procedural documentation? Or are you actively building a culture where every single employee is a motor for continuous improvement? Take a hard look at your structure and ask yourself what your very next step is toward true total quality. Thanks so much for joining me for this deep dive. Catch you next time.